Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you are listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is May the 25th, 2021, and today the topic is purchased for purpose. Friends, I had an interesting morning this morning. I woke up at the sound of my alarm, but I didn't get out of the bed, so probably maybe 4:30. Then I kind of lollygagged and whatnot, and everything I knew, it was like almost 4:45, and I just was like, oh goodness. So I came and start my routine. Now, good morning to whoever's watching me live. But yeah, I said to myself, I was like, man, I might not even do the routine today. So I just had a moment to just woosah, good morning, shade tree. But yeah, I just had a moment to woosah. I just sat, like there listening to music, not. And then after maybe like one song, I started to feel a little bit more upbeat. So I was like, well, let me at least do my warm up. So I did my warm up, y'all. That's the only part of my workout routine that I did. I didn't do the stretches part, but I did do the warm up. So that ain't bad, right? And by the time I looked at the time, I was like, okay, yeah, let me go ahead and get into this prayer and meditation. So I decided to do that. It was a good one. Had me reflecting on well, I'll share it because obviously I don't remember now. I don't remember now because my brain has been engulfed in this whole idea of being purchased for a purpose. So you guys can see on our Instagram when I share that, if the Lord's will, you can see what my prayer meditation was centered around today. But yeah, eventually, so soon after my prayer meditation thing wrapped up, the song I Am Redeemed came into my mind. I don't know if you know it or not. Maybe you do. Shade Tree, say along with me if you know it. I am redeemed. You know that one? Bought with the price. Jesus has changed my whole life. That one. Anyway. So that song came on. And then the topic, purchase with a purpose. I'm like, all right, okay, it sounds good. Purchase with a purpose, cool. So I get ready. Okay, so I get my phone out and I'm getting ready to start researching it, right? Then I get distracted. I started looking at I don't watch the news. So whatever the little reports that comes up on the when you get ready to Google or something like that, or when you go into your Chrome on your phone or whatever. Well, that's how mine does. It goes to a homepage and it's telling news reports. So I was looking at some of the news reports, and then I saw one about Airbnb. I know it's like random. So I saw one about Airbnb and I started reading. And then all of a sudden this gnat comes and flies like right here in my face. Those of you guys that can see me, you see that I'm pointing to my eyes, whatever. Like it like came like right into my eyes, and then it was like I ended up slapping myself, and I was like, I just felt like that came straight from God. Oh, your favorite is thankful. Oh, that's a good one too, right? Yeah, thankful, that one. Thankfulness. Is that right? Flowing from my heart. Tell me if that was the right one, Shade Tree. But anyway, yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, so the gnat came like right in my eyes, and I go to like get it, and I end up slapping myself, and I just felt like that came straight from God. Like, that sounds weird, but I felt like that was like that thing to be like, girl, what you supposed to be doing right now? Like, wait a minute, like this is my time, like. And I was like, okay, Lord, okay. You right. So I started to do my little look up what I was supposed to be looking up, which is the Bible verses. But anywho, so I started looking them up. And the first one I came across is, of course, the inspiration for that song. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. It says, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price, so glorify God in your body. That made me want to go deeper, y'all, right? Because, like I said, any verse that kind of starts off in a way where it's like, it seems like it was part of another verse, it makes me want to go and read the whole thing to make sure I didn't miss a part of what it's saying. So I wanted to go deeper. Now, me going deeper led me to actually not only read 1 Corinthians 6, but I also ended up reading 1 Corinthians 5 as well. So both of those in its entirety is the go deeper sections for today, if you guys want to go ahead and take a look at those on your own. But I'm going to share what stood out to me. Y'all know. So when I was reading 1 Corinthians 5, the main thing that stood out to me was verses 11 and 13. Paraphrasing it a bit, it pretty much says, if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator or drunkard or a extortioner, with such an one know not to eat. Do not, and then it goes on to say, do not ye judge them that are within, but them that are without God judges. So y'all know how I feel about that whole judgment stuff. You know how that goes. But I mean, it's telling us here that we, judging others within, but God is going to judge the ones that are without. Things like that, and it's telling us to separate ourselves from those that are doing such, right? Fornication, drunkards, extortioners, all these things that it says. That's what stood out to me today. I don't know necessarily why how it ties in with this at this moment, but hey, let's see. So I ended up going forward and going finally into 1 Corinthians 6, and I noticed that KJV had it set up a little bit differently than the one I just read to you. So I'm going to read to you the 1 Corinthians 6:20 KJV, and it says, for ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify in your body, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. So that part was not in the other verse that I just read, the which are God's part. But I mean, I guess it stood out to me because I'm like, well, it kind of reminds us who we belong to and and whatnot. So that's one thing that stood out to me. The interesting thing is the verses that stood out to me as I went back to go and write them down for you all. I'm writing them down in reverse. So I started with verse 20 because that stood out to me the most. And I'm going to go to verse 18 because that stood out to me next. It says, flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. Y'all know this verse. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have heard this verse before. And then made me want to go ahead and look up fornication just to make sure I know what it means. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, let me make sure I know what it means. Let me make sure. So I went and looked it up, and it says, fornication, sexual intercourse between people not married to each other. Then I also saw, as I was looking, I ended up seeing some more, I guess, ways to go deeper. It says here the Hebrew also means idolatry, worship of heathen idols, which usually includes some type of rituals that deviated sexual intercourse. So yeah, so it also means idolatry in Hebrew, and then in Greek it's saying generally every kind of extramarital, unlawful or unnatural sexual intercourse. So yeah, we got some other, I guess what the Hebrew and the Greek to go along with the English definition. But the interesting thing is, it made me think about like something I think I probably saw yesterday or over the weekend. It's like when people argue, man, like when people argue about the Bible, right? Then people start talking about, have you read the Hebrew? Have you read the Greek? Have you read the blah, blah? They're saying all this stuff as if they've read it. And if they have, cool. You know what I'm saying? But I read English. I don't know Hebrew and Greek. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a chance that things could be different. Like I just showed you guys the verse. Like I read you guys the verse before, and it didn't say which are God's in the other, I don't even know if you would call it translation, but in the other, I don't know, the KJV versus that other one, I don't even know what version that came from, what version of the Bible. But the verses don't change just because a couple of words was left off. The verse is saying the same thing, and I feel like that's what it boils down to. I feel like, yeah, there are a lot of different Bibles out there that have been like transcribed and all these different things, but I don't think they're saying different things. This is me. I feel like they're saying the same thing, even if they're saying it a little bit slightly different, but it's still saying the same message. In my humble opinion. Now, that's just me. Now, no, I don't think people should change the Bible. No, I don't think, like, if anybody did change the Bible, and because there's other verses coming out. If you haven't heard about the Queen James Bible, then go and check that out on yourself. And let it marinate on your heart, soul, and mind, what you feel God is saying to you about that. But, so people are out here changing the Bible. I'm not going to act as if I'm ignorant of that, right? But I don't believe personally that between the Hebrew and the English is so different, or between the Greek and all that. I don't believe that it's so different. And for me, one of the reasons is because and I've shared this, and I won't say his name wrong, but I think it's William Tyndale, Tyndale. I believe I shared about him in a previous juice, if I'm getting his name correctly. But at least hearing his story of how, like, when he was translating the Bible into English and how he lost his life over it, I'm pretty sure, like, for me, if I'm going to lose my life over something, it's not going to be something that's, like, I'm not going to do right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would they I don't know. It just makes you think a little deeper today. At least for me, I'm just like, hey, people lost their lives over trying to translate this so people could read it. Like, I mean, I don't believe, me personally, I don't think that the Hebrew and Greek is so different from the English. Now, how could I know unless I learn Hebrew and Greek, you know what I mean? And same for anybody else. And if I guess those people that try to argue that, I guess my whole thing would be like, prove it. Prove that it's saying something totally different. You know what I'm saying? Say, like, put it next to each other and show us. But at the end of the day, we'll all still be going off of what you're saying, because if nobody else knows the language that you're talking about, then nobody can sit here and say if you're saying it right or not. So let's not, I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. I don't know why the look. I ain't got too much to say about that, but I mean, I would just say it's the same as like when I was I wouldn't name these people per se, but it was like, I think I've told you guys before, but it goes back to like, when you're having conversations with people in different languages, one of the things that I realized, like, even though, yeah, it may sound beautiful, the things that they're saying, but at the end of the day, if I'm not familiar with that language, then I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what they're telling me. And at the end of the day, I think that's how it is. Like, if so anything in any other language to people that don't understand that language is gibberish. It don't mean nothing. It's like, it's nothing. You know what I mean? You have to know the language in order to read it. So, I don't know. That's just a little side note. Sorry, Shade Tree just went off there. But I'm just saying, it just reminded me of this when I was reading, or I came across these examples of what the Hebrew says and what the Greek says about fornication in particular. But then I guess the question is after that, like the question I had for myself or whatever as I was writing is like, okay, well, so I see that, we were purchased, right? And then I see that it's saying to us to flee fornication and maybe even flee people that are doing such things and all of this. But what is the purpose, right? What is the purpose that we were purchased? Let me say that again. What was the purpose that we were purchased? And I guess that answer came in verse 2. So check this out. This is 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 2. It says, "Do ye not know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters?" That is a question for us today. Hey, let that marinate on your heart, souls, and minds, y'all. Are we unworthy to judge the smallest matters? And if so, we need to get right so we can be able to do, obviously this purpose here is saying that we're supposed to be judging the world. I know, the world don't like to hear that. Don't judge me. But according to this here, it says that the saints shall judge the world. But then saints, it does say something for us as well, that hey, we don't want to be unworthy of doing such. And I guess this is our purpose, or one of our purposes, or whatnot. But yeah, just something to think about, y'all. Just something to think about. If I needed some reiteration, or if I needed something to just seal this deal today, I don't know. I came across the Bible verse of today, and that is Galatians 5:25. It says, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, it's your girl Miracle Sims, and you already know that your girl is now an author, and my very first publication is none other than a creation inspired by the juice. That's right, friends, you can go on Amazon.com and find the Juice 30-Day Bible Study Journal. And this, friends, I hope and pray will help you create your own Bible study experience similar to the one that your girl here shares with you every day here on God, Sex, and Love.